Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the FinSAC era is a painful reminder of the need for regulations to keep up with changes in the financial sector.
But one of the most critical factors for economic stability is financial sector stability. And as such, regulation has to keep pace with the innovation in the sector.
But lawyers for FinSAC refute claims of impropriety on the part of the entity in the long-awaited FinSAC Commission archives launched today.
More resources to be deployed to the Manchester Police to combat an increase in murders in the parish.
Denham Town High School concerned with the below-average reading proficiency of students who enter grade 7.
Some Greater Portmore residents want retaining wall to protect their homes from crocodiles.
In news from the rest of the world, Guyanese President Ali revises cash payout, says every adult to receive $100,000.
Joe Biden says the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is a good day for Israel, the US, and the world.
In headline sports, Sri Lanka crush West Indies in Dambulla to win 3-match T20 International Series.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the long-awaited FinSAC Commission archives have been made public. We'll go through witness statements and submissions made to the Commission of Inquiry detailing the experiences of debtors who were impacted in the 1990s.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, do Jamaicans take climate change seriously? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, you'll hear more from the FinSAC Commission archives.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, Thursday, October 17, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-thru, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the FinSAC era is a painful reminder of the need for regulations to keep up with changes in the financial sector. He says sector stability is an often overlooked key pillar of economic sustainability. Speaking at the launch of the FinSAC Commission archives on Thursday, Dr. Clark says the lessons learned from that troubled period continue to inform policy decisions today. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
With the near collapse of Jamaica's financial system in the 1990s, colloquially named after the company established to stabilize the situation, FinSAC remains one of the most economically catastrophic events in Jamaican history. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says it was a lesson in recognizing the importance of financial system stability.
We are rightly focused on the fiscal question, rightly focused on the inflation question, both important to economic stability, rightly focused on the sufficiency of foreign exchange. Those are all, I would say, in the front, and everybody knows that those are important for economic stability. But one of the most critical factors for economic stability is financial sector stability. And as such, regulation has to keep pace with the innovation in the sector.
Marked by high interest rates and high inflation, the FinSAC era saw many financial institutions fail, taking with them debtors from all walks of life. It cost the government approximately 40% in its debt stock, which climbed from just above 70% to just over 100% of GDP.
The accumulation of that debt led to a situation by 2002, 2003, where interest and wages alone exceeded tax revenues. There's no road, no classroom, no drugs for the hospital, no PATH program, no capital expenditure, no other item of expenditure. Just those two exceeded tax revenues. It was, unsustainable is too light of a word to use. And it plunged our country essentially into crisis when inevitable shocks came.
From it, Jamaica's modern financial regulations were created, including the establishment of key institutions such as the Financial Services Commission and Deposit Insurance. However, Dr. Clark says as the financial landscape changes, so too must the rules governing it.
And the regulations that are on the books that are being prepared, the Twin Peaks regulation, absolutely critical to financial sector stability going forward, given the complexion, the makeup and the structure of our particular financial sector, where financial conglomerates control 90% of financial sector assets. And financial sector regulation must continue to be free of undue influence. Regulators have to be completely empowered to do their work with a transparent appeals process that exists, that does not involve the political class. That is critical for Jamaica's long-term future.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
And in a legal submission obtained from the Commission archives, lawyers representing FinSAC refuted claims of impropriety on the part of the entity, insisting it acted above board and with full probity in the disposal of assets and debt obtained. Nora Gay Banton tells us more.
The document in question is dated November 8, 2011. This means it would have been received by the FinSAC commissioners following its public hearings into the financial crisis of the 1990s. The submission was made by law firm Samuda and Johnson on behalf of FinSAC. They were responding to testimonials from many of the debtors who felt wronged by the company and how it disposed of their assets at the time. Allegations of a lack of communication, preferential treatment, the disposal of assets well below market value, and outright fraud were commonplace. However, FinSAC rejected these claims. In its submission to the Commission, it highlighted the fact that it managed over 23,000 accounts, representing over 17,000 individuals and entities. It says of that sum, less than 20 people provided testimony to the inquiry. FinSAC stated that there was no evidence of fraud or impropriety with respect to any of the debtors who appeared before the Commission. It stated claims of properties being sold significantly below market value were simply untrue and debunked by evidence provided by FinSAC to the Commission. The entity also dismissed the more serious allegation of politicians and other influential persons receiving preferential treatment by FinSAC in dealing with their loans. It says each case was handled on its own merits and no evidence was submitted to the Commission to back up such claims. Lawyers representing FinSAC also took the Commission itself to task for what it perceived as bias. For example, it was noted that the counsel for FinSAC was never given an opportunity to cross-examine witnesses or challenge many of the claims made. This, it says, damaged the entity in the public eye. FinSAC says by the time it had been given an opportunity to respond, public and media interest had waned. Nevertheless, it believes its submissions exonerated the entity of any wrongdoing. The submission says it is notable that very few, if any, of the persons who said they felt treated unfairly by FinSAC expressed any personal responsibility. It says many of these individuals took loans at interest rates that their earnings could not sustain, although the evidence presented in the course of the proceedings indicates that this was often the route to delinquency. With the Commission unable to complete its work and no report or recommendations at hand, it's uncertain what would be the ultimate decision on the allegations made against FinSAC and its rebuttal. Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
In other news now, Principal of Denhamtown High School Yvette Richards-Thompson is expressing concern at the below-average reading proficiency of students who enter grade 7. She was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Thursday. Dana Davey reports.
In January this year, an international student assessment report ranked Jamaica as below average in reading proficiency among students. The same was also indicated in the Jamaica Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey in March. According to that survey, over 60% of Jamaican children aged 7 to 14 have acquired basic reading skills. Speaking on Cliff Hughes Online, Mrs. Richards-Thompson says students in grade 7 are performing below level.
The grade 7 cohort right now is of concern, and not just my school. It seems to be a wide-scale problem. Because
what is that concern?
The concern is that this grade 7 cohort, especially within this space, they are not functional. Not functional, and at the same time, they are also coming with behavioral issues. And so, without a targeted intervention, we're going to have some serious issues. So we sat and we were looking at the data. We did diagnostic tests for every grade 7 child we got. As a matter of fact, we did diagnostic for all students grade 7 to 9, and we also tested some grade 10s just to see their progress and all of that.
And when you say they're not functional, it means that they're not ready for the high school curriculum?
Not ready at all. They're not even ready for primary school curriculum.
So where are you going to start with them then?
At the basics.
Mrs. Richards-Thompson added that the school does not receive additional financial support from the ministry.
And you don't get a dime more from the Ministry of Education
no, we get
to do what you have to do to turn it around?
As any other school.
Well, you shouldn't be getting the same. The formula that Immaculate and Casey and George's use.
And bear in mind that some of these traditional schools also have additional financial support through their classroom association and all of that. And their compliance rate, especially with contribution, is also higher than ours. We cannot put a child out of school because the child didn't pay the contribution. The parents didn't pay. We can't do that. At the same time, based on where the children are, we are required to do a lot more hands-on teaching.
Despite the challenges, the Denhamtown High principal says the school is making progress.
We are making so much progress, and the impact of this school, I can tell you, is more than what some other schools do. The schools that get the children that are reading, that are competent, are able to analyze and all of that, we have to teach all of those fundamental skills, and we have to allow the children to do the same exam that the children who got 90s and perfect scores in PEP are going to be doing. I've seen so many listings of, the top schools in the island, and I always laugh at those. The ranking for me doesn't matter. What matters is what we are producing. This year, our FinSAC pass rate moved up from 28% to 59%.
Dana Davey for Nationwide News.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says more resources will be deployed to Manchester to combat an increase in murders in the parish. The minister was speaking during a tour of the Mandeville Market and surrounding communities, including Albion and Knockpatrick on Thursday. There's been an unusual increase in major crimes in the parish. Manchester has recorded 42 murders as at October 12. This is approximately 16% more than the number recorded for the corresponding period last year. This led police to impose a series of curfews. Minister Chang attributes the increase in crime to gangs and lottery scamming. However, he says the police have a high clearance rate.
They have identified much of what could be considered the root cause of the problem to some internal conflict in small gangs over money and other things that are of value to gangsters. Plus, there are some overseas players as well, but they have had significant success in apprehending the local players. Indeed, it's maybe one of the highest rate of apprehension. I think they resolved some 76% of the severe crime in the parish. To commend the Commander, Superintendent Duncan and his team for the work they're doing. But it's still a challenge for places like Manchester, which have no history of gun violence.
As part of the policing measures, entertainment events have also been restricted. Minister Chang is imploring Manchester citizens to remove criminal elements from their communities to allow for entertainment events.
The players, operators usually know who the players are. those who want to have the futsal and the parties have an idea who the players are. Some of them are friends, but a lot of this violence between people know each other. And I'd advise them, one, tell them to stop the violence. We won't interfere with the parties. And if they carry out an event, tell the police. There's no value in seeking retaliation to only increase their activity. Police have no choice but to take all possible action, protect the community and the lives of the people in the community, and to make it safe. And part of that is to put in the curfews to manage the flow of activity in the community. That's essentially what you're doing, and then search for the miscreants.
Dr. Horace Chang, National Security Minister.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
5:16.
Rent-to-Kill Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rent-to-Kill Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rent-to-Kill is...
It's 31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 in Montego Bay.
So where you get? The new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share yours. Get the new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Continuing the news. Residents of 2 East Greater Portmore in St. Catherine are urgently calling on their political representatives to construct a retaining wall to protect their homes from crocodiles that have been encroaching on their community. They say the issue is a recurring one. Robian Williams reports.
A resident speaking anonymously with our news team revealed that during periods of heavy rainfall, crocodiles are frequently washed down into a trench culvert near his home. This poses a serious risk to him, his family, and his neighbors. He shared that it's become a common occurrence to see crocodiles in his backyard, adding to the growing fears within the community. There's no wall or fence at the back of the scheme where we live, he explained, noting that this leaves the area exposed to the reptiles. Videos obtained by our news team show a crocodile swimming in the trench near the houses. In one instance, the animal appears to be eating something. The concerned resident expressed his fear that authorities will only act after a tragedy occurs. He said he's afraid nothing will be done until someone gets eaten. He emphasized that the area includes 2 basic schools, a primary school, and a high school, increasing the need for swift intervention to protect the community's most vulnerable. The residents are appealing to their political representatives to step in and address the issue before the situation escalates further. When contacted, Member of Parliament for South St. Catherine Fitz Jackson says he notes the concern of the residents.
As we are aware, crocodiles are protected species. Accordingly, any action that can affect them has to be guided by NEPA. As such, I stand ready to consider pursuing any practical and effective intervention that can mitigate the fear and threat that the residents face.
The island is currently experiencing increased rainfall associated with a tropical wave. The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, has constantly urged the public to exercise extreme caution in areas close to swamps, rivers, gullies, and other habitats, as crocodiles are likely to be displaced following heavy rains. Protocol suggests that upon seeing the animals, residents should contact NEPA. According to the Wildlife Protection Act, it is an offense to possess, hunt, kill, capture, or willfully molest a crocodile. Individuals found guilty of the offense may be charged a maximum fine of $100,000 or face 1 year imprisonment. Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply. Equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The world in a minute. Guyanese President Irfan Ali has revised his cash grant incentive to citizens. Last week, he announced a slew of incentives, including a one-off cash grant of $200,000 for every household. But in a live broadcast on Wednesday, he announced a revised cash payout. President Ali says each adult citizen 18 years and older as of January 1, 2024, will receive a one-off cash grant of $100,000. To be eligible, recipients will have to show proof of Guyanese citizenship by way of a national identification card or Guyana passport. This new revised cash payout will cost the government over $60 billion, exceeding the previous allocation for household grants.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply. Equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says FinSAC era is a painful reminder of the need for regulations to keep up with changes in the financial sector.
But one of the most critical factors for economic stability is financial sector stability. And as such, regulation has to keep pace with the innovation in the sector.
But lawyers for FinSAC refute claims of impropriety on the part of the entity in the long-awaited FinSAC Commission archives launched today.
More resources to be deployed to the Manchester Police to combat an increase in murders in the parish.
Denham Town High School concerned with the below-average reading proficiency of students who enter grade 7.
I am Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-through, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Want to start investing in stocks but don't know how? Then the JMMB Income and Growth Fund could fit your future best with returns that outperform inflation and tax-free advantages. Visit jm.jmmb.com to get started with as little as $5,000. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Broilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from the daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Isle in Ocho Rios from $299 per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200. Conditions apply.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on the latest in schoolboy football matches being played around the country at the minute. The title favourites Glenmuir High, they're leading the defending champions Clarendon College 1-0 in their big round of 32 Issa Water, the Costa Cup clash in May Pen. The showdown is a repeat of last season's final. In other the Costa Cup latest, Froome, they lead Cedric Titus by 3-0. Many-time champions Rossies, they are holding a 1-0 lead over Spot Valley. So too Central over Yalas. Bellier and Denby are 1-1 at the moment. In the Manning Cup, Kingston College and Campion were locked up at 2 apiece, and Tivoli were leading Woolmers by 4-2. Jamaica has been drawn in Group E for the opening round of the CONCACAF Under-17 Women's Qualifiers. The Young Reggae Girls will play in the same group as Nicaragua and St. Kitts and Nevis. The first round is set to kick off in January next year, where the 6 group winners and 2 best second-place teams will advance to the final round of qualifiers to face the likes of the USA, Mexico, Canada, and Haiti. The teams will be battling for spots in the 2025 FIFA Women's World Cup. Sri Lanka crushed the West Indies by 9 wickets with over 2 overs to spare in Dambulla today to win their 3-match T20 International Series 2-1. The West Indies posted a par score of 162 for 8 in their 20 overs. Captain Rovman Powell, 37, and Gudakesh Moti, 32, got most runs. Brandon King weighed in with 23. Shea Hope and Romario Shepherd, 18 apiece. Wanidu Hasaranga and Mahesh Thisakana back 2 wickets apiece for Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan top order then made light work of the run chase. Kusal Mendes, 68, and Kusal Pereira, 55, took them home with an unbroken second wicket stand of 106. Pathum Nasinka set the tone. He bagged 39 from 22 balls. And the West Indies captain Powell says the team lost the game in the power play.
Yeah, I think it's a control of the power play. If we had controlled the power play better as a bowling group, we'd make a game of it. If getting 60, 70 in the power play is always hard to come back. They have quality players, and it was tough after the power play.
And despite the series loss, Paul believes the players did themselves proud.
It's a lot of positives when you come into Sri Lanka and push them in a condition like this, unfamiliar conditions to us, but having said that, I think my guys give good effort, I think our fast bowlers give good effort on these tracks, and I think as a batting group, guys show that they can bat spin.
That's Rovman Powell, captain of the West Indies team. The teams will now meet in a 3-match one-day international series, the first game on Sunday. There will be new champions at this year's ICC Women's T20 World Cup after South Africa defeated outgoing champions Australia by 8 wickets in semi-final 1 in Dubai today. Australia were restricted to 134 for 5 in their 20 overs. Beth Mooney, 44, Elisa Perry, 31, and captain Talia McGrath made most runs. The South Africans then raced to 135 for 2 in the 18th over on the back of a superb knock from Annick Bosch, who made an undefeated 74, and she was supported by Laura Vulsvast, 42. The South Africans will now await the outcome of the second semi-final, and that's between the West Indies and New Zealand, to know who they'll play in Sunday's final. The 2016 champions West Indies will go into tomorrow's semi-final on the back of a massive win over England this week. Veteran cricket commentator Joseph Reds Pereira believes that the West Indies women have the tools to go all the way and win a second world title.
One can say that if the West Indies can produce that kind of performance, they have a very, very good chance of beating New Zealand and getting themselves into the final. They weren't supposed to be in the semi-finals, but full credit to all the coaching staff, full credit to the players. Well done, West Indies women.
Joseph Reds Pereira. Finally, in sports at this time, despite breaking the Olympic record to win the men's discus in Paris this past summer, Jamaica's Roger Stoner has missed out on the list of 5 nominees for Male Field Athlete of the Year. The shortlist was released by World Athletics today, marking the opening of the voting process for the World Athletes of the Year Awards 2024. Stoner threw 70 meters on the nose on his 4th attempt, breaking the Olympic record in Paris to become the first Jamaican, male or female, to win gold in a throwing event at the Olympic Games. The athletes were selected by an international panel of athletics experts comprising representatives from all 6 continental areas of world athletics. The nominations reflect some of the standout performances achieved at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, World Athletics Indoor Championships in Glasgow, one-day meeting circuits, and other events around the world. Sweden's pole vault, record-breaking machine, and Olympic champion Mundo de Plantis leads the nominees, all of whom are Olympic champions, and it includes Stoner's coach Ryan Krauser of the United States, the shot put champion, the triple jump champion as well, or Jordan Fortune of Spain, Ethan Kasberg of Canada, the hammer throw champion, and Militidis Tentoglou of Greece, the long jump champion. The 5 for the women's award were also released, and like the men, they're all Olympic champions. Among them, Belgium's heptathlon star Nafitiam, Yaroslava Machuki of Ukraine, the high jump Olympic champion, Nina Kennedy of Australia, the pole vault champion, Tara Davis Woodhall of the USA, the long jump champion, and Valerie Alman, also of the USA, the discus champion. The vote to determine the Field Athlete of the Year is now open on World Athletics social media platforms and will close on October 20. The nominees for the Track Athlete of the Year Awards will be announced on October 21, and the nominees for the Out-of-Stadium Athlete of the Year, meaning the marathon and so on and walk race, will be announced on October 28. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you. The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:31.
I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my One JN Passport app. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The temperature by the One JN Passport app is
30 degrees Celsius in both Kingston and Montego Bay.
Guilty. Outperform, outlast. Guilty. With top performance. Guilty. Chakama. Reliable. Full stop. Not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton. Available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply. We service what we sell.
When Sagicor Bank thinks of a woman, here's what we see. We see business leaders managing sole trader businesses to large corporations. We see university graduates as our women uplift themselves academically. We see more homeowners, ambitious women working hard to build their own legacy. We see leadership at home, with women proudly providing for and taking care of their families. We see entrepreneurs, Jamaican women playing a leading role in our economic growth. At Sagicor Bank, we see the invaluable contribution of women in the home, communities, businesses, and development of our country. That's why we're in their corner, supporting Jamaica's women as they strive to achieve their dreams.
It's the JN Group Power of Pink Outside broadcast. Tune in to Cliffviews Online on Friday, October 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the JN Group Power of Pink Outside broadcast. Women, this one is for you. The JN Group is offering 100 women free mammograms as part of their annual Power of Pink breast cancer awareness campaign and in recognition of World Mammography Day. Don't wait and don't miss the opportunity. Visit the Jamaica Cancer Society at 16 Lady Musgrave Road for your free mammogram. But you can't wait and you can't stall because it is being offered on a first come, first served basis. Expect excitement, entertainment, and giveaways. So be quick and be there. That's a live broadcast of Cliff Views Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on October 18. Tune in as we bring you the JN Group Power of Pink outside broadcast from the Jamaica Cancer Society, 16 Lady Musgrave Road. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by JN Group.
I wonder if God is a woman.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers. It's 5:35 for the 17th of October, and this is the Cover Story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And I'm Sondre Roden.
It's good to see you, Sondre. This will be the first time we're working together.
Yeah, and I feel like you're putting me in Tana's seat, but hey, I won't complain.
I think Ricardo usually sits there, so I just go shimmy over here. So well, listeners, as you heard from the newscast, if you're joining us now, rather, and you didn't hear from the newscast, we're talking about the FinSAC Commission archives. Those were launched today. The long-awaited FinSAC Commission archives have finally been released. The archives contain submissions detailing the experiences of debtors who were impacted in the 1990s. The ceremony to launch the archives, as I said, was this morning at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel.
The FinSAC Commission was established on January 12th, 2009. It undertook a comprehensive examination of the factors which contributed to the near collapse of the country's financial system in the 1990s. However, the Commission did not deliver a report. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the financial period led to an accumulation of debt that took some 30 years to be wound down.
The FinSAC Commission was established by proclamation by the Governor General in January of 2009. And it was tasked to inquire into the circumstances that led to the collapse of the financial sector in the 1990s, with particular reference to whether those factors were domestic or external in nature. As far as domestic factors are concerned, to consider the monetary and fiscal policy environment at the time and whether those were contributory factors, to examine the role of the boards of directors of financial companies at the time and the management, and to ascertain what their responsibility was and to what extent decisions they made were contributory factors, and also to look into the government's regulatory environment to establish whether or not inadequacies were to blame for the collapse in the financial sector. The Commission was also asked to look into the operations of FinSAC and whether decisions were made on an even-handed and fair basis, to look into the terms and conditions for the sale of the portfolio to the Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation of the loan portfolio, and to ascertain whether that was fairly handled and whether the liquidation of assets, etc., was done on a neutral basis, among a few other items. The Commission was plagued with problems from the very beginning. A chairman of the commission had to be replaced after being challenged in court. The commission had problems finding a place to meet. It took 9 months to find a suitable venue. And even after that venue was found and the chairman was replaced, the commission had starts and stops over the intervening period, inclusive of starts and stops due to changes in the government. By 2018, the cabinet had lost confidence in the commission's ability to produce a report, even though they would have started, and in the archives there are, I believe, 2 or 3 chapters of a report that was, of the initial report. But the cabinet, having provided funds and additional funds over time on the promise of the report, felt that there's too much exposure for providing resources with no report forthcoming. As such, in, I believe it was February 2019, the commission resigned, and I think it was Commissioner Charles Ross himself who came to my office and presented me with an electronic disc that contained all of the submissions and documents presented to the FinSAC Commission. The good news is that the FinSAC Commission had long completed its public hearings. So there's no more information for the FinSAC Commission to gather. They had gathered all the information over the ensuing years that they had planned to gather. And they were in the write-up phase, which was just consuming too much resources with promises that, look, we're going to get it done with another 30 million, and that is finished, no report, and it happened at least 2 times. So from my perspective as Minister of Finance, being presented with this material, I abide by the principle of everybody having a responsibility to water your own garden, i.e. everybody has your sphere of responsibility, your sphere of influence, and it is the responsibility of us all to handle those spheres in the best way we can. So being presented, I came into this essentially being presented with a stick that had all of this information. What now is my responsibility in that? The commission has resigned. There's no commission. The hearings are finished. I certainly did not think it would be appropriate for that jump drive to end up in the waste bin or for it to be in file 13. The collapse of the financial sector in the 1990s was arguably the most monumental domestic economic event in Jamaica's independent history. It led to an accumulation of debt that represented 40% of GDP. And it has taken 30 years approximately for that debt to be wound down. Prior to FinSAC, Jamaica's debt to GDP ratio was in the low 70s. By 2002, our debt to GDP was over, I believe, 115%, on its way to 120%. And the rest is history.
That's Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke speaking this morning at the launch of the FinSAC Commission archives. He says the launch will provide an opportunity for stakeholders, researchers, and members of the public to access valuable insights from various perspectives that will add to public understanding of that period. He says creating access to the FinSAC files is a move to ensure Jamaicans can be educated about a period that the country should never experience again.
The accumulation of that debt led to a situation by 2002, 2003, where interest and wages alone exceeded tax revenues. Interest and wages alone exceeded tax revenue. There's no road, no classroom, no drugs for the hospital, no PATH program, no capital expenditure, no other item of expenditure. Just those two exceeded tax revenues. it was, unsustainable is too light of a word to use. And it plunged our country essentially into crisis when inevitable shocks came. And so it is incumbent upon us as a society, now that we have attained a debt level that is lower than the pre-FinSAC era, and we're on track by the end of this fiscal year for a debt level in the high 60s. 67% is the forecast. It is incumbent upon us to ensure that the material gathered in the public hearings during the life of the FinSAC Commission are available to the public for edification, scrutiny, academic research, and most importantly, to ensure that we do not traverse this path again. And it is that conviction that led the Ministry of Finance on a path that has led to this morning. This is not a path that started yesterday or that even started in my budget presentation when I made the announcement back in March. This is something that would have started approximately 2 years ago with trying to find the best way to get this material into the public domain, and there would have been quite a few iterations. Now, it's important to note that in the disclosure of this material, great care has been taken to ensure that we observe the legislative environment as it exists today. And in this, I am not my own advisor, and I have to subject myself to the advice of the professionals who are permanently employed in the public bureaucracy. As such, a committee was appointed consisting of lawyers in the Ministry of Finance and others to review all of the material. And they would have gone through all of the documents that were on that electronic drive. We're talking about lots of documents. To redact any information that is personal in nature, that and that does not meet the test for public disclosure. They would have recommended that 1 or 2 out of thousands of documents would not be fit for disclosure, not for reasons that they contain any smoking gun, but that it would establish a precedent that would be problematic. But I don't want us to focus on that. I can say more about that in a second. So what we have here and are going to reveal today are the documents that were handed over. And this is not a file of debtor information, if anybody is, right? It's not a file of who owe money and who never owe money and who don't pay back. That's not what this is. This consists of submissions made to the commission. And you have people came to the commission and made oral submissions, i.e. they were interviewed by the commissioners, and the transcripts of those interviews are all available. And there are those who would have submitted written submissions to the commission. Now, the oral submissions, and some of the oral and written coincided, would have been carried in the media at the time. So there's a lot of information that is already in the media because the hearings were public, and when those hearings were undertaken, the media covered those hearings. But there are other material that were submitted that would not have been aired in a similar fashion.
That is Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark speaking this morning at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Well, listeners, we are going to take a break and come back with more from the Finance Minister after these messages.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:48.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
All right, we're back with you. It is Nationwide at 5, and we're going through the archives of FinSAC. Dr. Nigel Clark, you've been hearing him if you've been with us. He's been sharing that this is a period in our history that we should never experience again. And he was speaking at the Jamaica Pegasus this morning as they launched the FinSAC archives, which are accessible on the Ministry of Finance's website. Continuing, Dr. Nigel Clark says the materials include the stories of those who borrowed from banks in the 1990s and were hit by ballooning interest rates.
So the Commission archives represents the perspectives on this era from different categories of stakeholders. You have the perspectives of debtors, those who came forward to report of their experiences of borrowing from financial institutions and getting caught in the vortex that was the 1990s interest rate environment. You have the perspective of the major shareholders of financial institutions who came forward and provided their accounts of their stewardship and the problems and challenges that they faced. And you have the perspective of the policymakers, of the administrators of FinSAC, and I believe of some regulators as to how events unfolded from their point of view. To get a complete picture of this very important chapter in Jamaican life, it is important that all perspectives are considered. Running with a perspective that suits your particular agenda, whoever your is, does a disservice to the intent of the publication of the archives. The intent is that Jamaica learns from this experience and that this never recurs. In order to, and by publishing this archives, this event took place, as we discussed, 30 years ago. We've waited 30 years for this. So there's no rush now to jump to conclusions, or there ought not to be a rush to jump to conclusions, to read one document and then conclude. We've waited 30 years. Yeah? So the government, the Ministry of Finance, we're taking a long-term perspective with the publication of these archives, and we're going to make funding available to the University of the West Indies, $10 million, the University of Technology, $10 million, to catalyze a process where there's a call for research proposals from interested researchers, and there's an independent and transparent mechanism of awarding research grants with the view that researchers, qualified researchers, can interrogate this database and supplement it with other pertinent material and produce works of scholarship on this important period in our history. And it is hoped that in the adjudication of these research grants, it'll be done in such a way that we don't have overlapping research, but we have researchers looking into this period from various perspectives.
That's Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark speaking at the ceremony to launch the FinSAC Commission archives at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel this morning. Well, interested persons may access that archive on the ministry's website at mof.gov.jm/FinSAC Commission archives. And later today at around 6:40, we will be going through some of the submissions, dramatization of some of the submissions made to the commission. And we'll also be joined by Dennis Chung, chartered accountant, who actually lived through that period and has quite some knowledge as to what took place at the time. But listeners, before we wrap up the cover story, I had an opportunity not to go. The archive is quite voluminous. I haven't gone through all of it, but I had an opportunity to pick out some pieces that I found pertinent. And this particular one from Dr. Omar Davies, this was his response to questions from the commissioners as to what were the options available to the government at the time to deal with what was a major financial crisis. And Davies said that there were two main options open to the government. Option one was to appoint receivers for the failed institutions and allow them to dispose of assets and eventually pay depositors a percentage of their savings based on the ratio of the realized value of assets to liabilities. Or two, the intervention could take the form of the establishment of an institution such as FinSAC, which would be the umbrella organization through which depositors, holders of insurance policies, and contributors to pension funds were protected. The latter intervention obviously came with a clear appreciation that the GOJ would absorb the difference between the value of the assets of the institutions and their liabilities. And he went on to say there are variations on each option, but conceptually those are the two main ones which were available, and the second option, which is the one that was selected. He goes on to say it should be recalled, however, that at that point in time there was no deposit insurance, and hence pursuing the first option would most likely not only lead to the loss of their life savings by a significant percentage of the population, but also the collapse of the financial system. In such an event, both domestic and foreign organizations would lose confidence in the system, even with regard to those institutions which had not failed. And given that trade-off, the decision was made to establish FinSAC. So that is the former finance minister's explanation and reasoning as to why FinSAC was created and why Jamaica had to essentially take on that 40% hit to debt to GDP at the time in the early 2000s. So, listeners, you'll get more regarding the FinSAC Commission later at 6:40, but now it's time for the headlines at 6.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations. It's a showdown of the shows. 6 shows, 1 winner. Who will it be? Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. from Monday, November 4 to Monday, November 11 for the NNN Quiz Competition. Get ready for the ultimate test of knowledge in our thrilling NNN Quiz Competition. Friendships have been transformed into rivalries as our shows compete in the ultimate showdown. With each correct answer, the excitement builds, and with each incorrect one, opportunities are lost. The stakes are high, and the listeners will be on the edge of their seats. The NNN Quiz is back. Tune in between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. during CliffViews Online from Monday, November 4 to Monday, November 11 for the NNN Quiz Competition. Who will emerge victorious on this edition of the NNN Quiz Competition? Find out only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. The NNN Quiz is brought to you by the Student Center, the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment Jade Limited, Wellington Dental, Mark's Superstore, Max Pharmaceutical, and JTA Credit Union.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the FinSAC era is a painful reminder of the need for regulations to keep up with the changes in the financial sector. He says it was a lesson in recognizing the importance of financial system stability.
We are rightly focused on the fiscal question, rightly focused on the inflation question, both important to economic stability, rightly focused on the sufficiency of foreign exchange. Those are all, I would say, in the front, and everybody knows that those are important for economic stability. But one of the most critical factors for economic stability is financial sector stability. And as such, regulation has to keep pace with the innovation in the sector.
Marked by high interest rates and high inflation, the FinSAC era saw many financial institutions fail, taking with them debtors from all walks of life. It cost the government approximately 40% in its debt stock, which climbed from just above 70% to over 100% of GDP.
The accumulation of that debt led to a situation by 2002, 2003, where interest and wages alone exceeded tax revenues. There's no road, no classroom, no drugs for the hospital, no PATH program, no capital expenditure, no other item of expenditure. Just those two exceeded tax revenues. It was, unsustainable is too light of a word to use. And it plunged our country essentially into crisis when inevitable shocks came.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance. Principal of Denontown High School, Yvette Richards Thompson, is expressing concern at the below-average reading proficiency of students who enter grade 7. She was speaking on CliffViews Online on Thursday.
The grade 7 cohort right now is of concern, and not just my school. It seems to be a wide-scale problem. Because
what is that concern?
The concern is that this grade 7 cohort, especially within this space, they are not functional. Not functional, and at the same time, they are also coming with behavioral issues. And so, without a targeted intervention, we're going to have some serious issues. So we sat and we were looking at the data. We did diagnostic tests for every grade 7 child we got. As a matter of fact, we did diagnostic for all students grade 7 to 9, and we also tested some grade 10s just to see their progress and all of that.
And when you say they're not functional, it means that they're not ready for the high school curriculum?
Not ready at all. They're not even ready for primary school curriculum.
So where are you going to start with them then?
At the basics.
In January this year, an international student assessment report ranked Jamaica as below average in reading proficiency among students. The same was also indicated in the Jamaica Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey in March. According to that survey, over 60% of Jamaican children aged 7 to 14 have acquired basic reading skills. Mrs. Richard Thompson added that the school does not receive additional financial support from the ministry.
and you don't get a dime more from the Ministry of Education
No, we get
to do what you have to do to turn it
grants
around?
as any other school.
Well, you shouldn't be getting the same. The formula that Immaculate and Casey and George is used.
And bear in mind that some of these traditional schools also have additional financial support through their
Yes.
Classroom Association and all of that. And their compliance rate, especially with contribution, is also higher than ours. We cannot put a child out of school because the child didn't pay the contribution. The parents didn't pay.
Yeah.
We can't do that. At the same time, based on where the children are, we are required to do a lot more hands-on teaching.
Yvette Richards-Thompson, principal of Denham Town High. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says more resources will be deployed to Manchester to combat an increase in murders in the parish. Manchester has recorded 42 murders as at October 12. That's approximately 16% more than the number recorded for the corresponding period last year. Minister Chang attributes the increase in crime to gangs and lottery scamming.
They have identified much of what could be considered the root cause of the problem to some internal conflict in small gangs over money and other things that are of value to gangsters. Plus, there are some overseas players as well, but they have had significant success in apprehending the local players. Indeed, it's maybe one of the highest rate of apprehension. I think they have resolved some 76% of the severe crime in the parish. The Commander, Superintendent Duncan and his team for the work they're doing. But it's still a challenge for places like Manchester, which have no history of gun violence.
Dr. Horace Chang, National Security Minister. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hailed Sandals Resorts as the best example of Jamaica operating at its fullest potential. The Prime Minister was speaking on Wednesday at the launch of the Sandals Jamaica Love 2024 tour at the Montego Bay Convention Center.
Listen, Jamaica is described as the confounding island. Jamaica is a place that has achieved so many things. It has achieved so much. It's been through so many struggles. But every single Jamaican knows that Jamaica can achieve so much more. That this is a country of great potential. And what people like Adam Stewart is doing is investing in Jamaica's potential. Sandals represents the best example of Jamaica fulfilling its potential.
Prime Minister Holness said he was proud of his decision to make Executive Chairman of Sandals Resorts, Adam Stewart, an investment ambassador for tourism.
But let me also acknowledge Ambassador Adam Stewart. For those of you who are religious or spiritual, you would agree that Butch is smiling. It is not that he's smiling that you are walking in his shoe. He's smiling because you are beating a new pathway. You are facing the challenges and you are coming up with innovative solutions. I'm very happy that I had made the decision to invite you to become an ambassador, an investment ambassador for tourism. And I will mark this down as your first public event having had that appointment.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can't see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3 piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend $6,000 or more before GCT at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes courtesy of Lasco, Grace Foods, and Facey Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6th. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. The best value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Title favorites Glenmuir High School. They beat defending champions Clarendon College 2-0 in their big round of 32 Issa Water, the Costa Cup clash in Maypen today. The showdown was a repeat of last season's final. In other the Costa Cup games today, Froome tagged the Cedric Titus by 3-0. Rossies defeated the Spot Valley 1-0. Central High beat Yalas 2-0. And Belair and Denby played out a 1-1 draw. In the Manning Cup, Kingston College and Campion drew 2-2, while Tivoli shocked Woolmers by 4-2. There'll be a new president of the St. Thomas Football Association. Current first Vice President Lascelles Logan will replace long-standing President Wayne Thompson, who's made good on his word to step down from the position. The annual general meeting is set for Saturday, October 26 in Morant Bay, where 3 new faces will join the executive, including Gawain Scott, 2nd VP Shireen Williams, and 3rd VP Brianna Da Costa. Outgoing President Thompson will serve as one of 4 directors supporting the team for the next 4 years. Jamaica has been drawn in Group E for the opening round of the CONCACAF Under-17 women's qualifiers. The young Reggae Girls will play in the same group as Nicaragua and St. Kitts and Nevis. The first round is set to kick off in January next year, where the 6 group winners and the 2 best second-place teams will advance to the final round of qualifiers to face the likes of the USA, Mexico, Canada, and Haiti. The teams will be battling for spots in the 2025 FIFA Women's World Cup. Sri Lanka crushed the West Indies by 9 wickets with 2 overs to spare in Dambulla today to win their 3-match T20 International Series 2-1. The West Indies posted a par score 162 for 8. Captain Rovman Pal 37 and Gudakesh Moti 32. They got most runs. Brandon King weighed in with 23 and Shea Hope and Romaria Shepherd 18 apiece. Wanindu Asaranga and Mahesh Tishathana bagged 2 wickets each. The Sri Lankan top order then made light work of the run chase. Kusal Mendy 68 and Kusal Pereira 55 took them home with an unbroken second wicket stand of 106. Pathum Nisanka set the tone with 39 runs from 22 balls, and the West Indies captain Rovman Pal says the team lost the game in the power play.
Yeah, I think it's a control of the power play. If we had controlled the power play better as a bowling group, we'd make a game of it. If getting 60, 70 in the power play is always hard to come back. They have quality players, and it was tough after the power play.
And despite the series loss, Paul says his players did well.
It's a lot of positives when you come into Sri Lanka and push them in a condition like this, unfamiliar conditions to us. But having said that, I think my guys give good effort. I think our fast bowlers give good effort on these tracks. And I think as a batting group, guys show that they can bat spin.
The teams will now meet in a 3-match one-day international series. The first will be played on Sunday. The West Indies women will face New Zealand tomorrow in a battle of the underdogs in semi-final 2 at the ICC Women's T20 World Cup in Dubai. The game is set to bowl off at 9 o'clock Jamaica time tomorrow morning. The Windies are coming into the game buoyed by the massive victory over England this week to get into the semi-finals and to dump the English from the World Cup. The West Indies, if they win, will go on to Sunday's final to face South Africa, who defeated the defending champions Australia today. They beat the Aussies by 8 wickets and a dominant display also in Dubai. The Aussies were restricted to 134 for 5 in their 20 overs. Beth Mooney 44, Elise Perry 31, and the captain Talia McGrath scored most runs. And the South Africans then raced past the total, 135 for 2, and it happened in 17 overs and 2 balls, and it was led by a superb knock from Anike Bosch, who made an undefeated 74, and she was well supported by Laura Wols-Varge 42. And of course, I mentioned the South Africans are now into the final and waiting on either New Zealand or the West Indies. Despite breaking the Olympic record to win the men's discus in Paris this summer, Jamaica's Rajay Stoner has missed out on the list of 5 nominees for Male Field Athlete of the Year. The shortlist was released by World Athletics, marking the opening of the voting process for the World Athlete of the Year awards in 2024. Stoner threw 70 meters on the nose on his 4th attempt, breaking the Olympic record in Paris to become the first Jamaican male or female to win gold in a throwing event at the Olympic Games. The athletes were selected by an international panel of athletics experts comprising representatives from all 6 continental areas of world athletics. The nominations reflect some of the standout performances achieved at the Paris Olympic Games, the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Glasgow earlier this year, a one-day meeting circuits, and other events around the world. Sweden's pole vault world-breaking machine, Mundo Duplantis, leads the nominees, all of whom are Olympic champions, including Stoner's coach Ryan Crouser of the USA, the shot put champion, the triple jump champion Jordan Fortune of Spain, Ethan Kasberg of Canada, the hammer throw champion, and Militidis Tentoglu of Greece, the long jump champion. The 5 for the women's award were also released, and like the men, they are all Olympic champions, among them Belgium septathlete the Nafitiam, Yaroslava Mashunik of Ukraine, the high jump champion, Nina Kennedy of Australia, the pole vault champion, Tara Davis Woodhall of the USA, the long jump champion, and another American, Valerie Allman, the discus champion. The vote to determine the field athlete of the year that was set to, it's open already on the World Athletics social media platforms and will close on October 20, so you don't have a great deal of time, you know. The nominees for the Track Athlete of the Year Awards will be announced on 21 October, and the nominees for the Out-of-Stadium Athlete of the Year, like road race, the walk race, and the marathon, will be announced on October 28. And that will pretty much do it for sports. We're going to be back with more sports tomorrow morning during the news at 6.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
17 minutes past 6.
Tell them cut the plastic, cut it before things get drastic. Educate Jamaica, that a feel with tactic. Yes, the reusable, no to single use. The youths, them a practice. So dash with that. Make we have a plastic free summer. Single use business, we no want. The ocean no want fi taste plastic waste. So make we find more sustainable ways to make sure. Say we have a plastic free summer. Protect the environment where we have done ya. Play your part, use plastic smart with the plastic free summer. Yeah, so we a start.
A message from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrich is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrich Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
It's the J&Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Tune in to Cliffviews Online on Friday, October 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the JN Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Women, this one is for you. The JN Group is offering 100 women free mammograms as part of their annual Power of Pink breast cancer awareness campaign and in recognition of World Mammography Day. Don't wait and don't miss the opportunity. Visit the Jamaica Cancer Society at 16 Lady Musgrave Road for your free mammogram. But you can't wait and you can't stall because it is being offered on a first come, first served basis. Expect excitement, entertainment, and giveaways. So be quick and be there. That's a live broadcast of Cliffviews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on October 18. Tune in as we bring you the JN Group Power of Pink outside broadcast from the Jamaica Cancer Society, 16 Lady Musgrave Road. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by JN Group.
I wonder if God is a woman.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. A special good evening to our YouTubers. Thank you so much for viewing us. Yes, we invite you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion, as we usually do. So, we are causing an existential threat to ourselves. That's the word from Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who was speaking at UTEC's International Climate Conference on Thursday. Now, he noted how quickly the climate is changing due to human activities.
Climate change is not a distant threat. It is here now. Climate change is not something that is happening to us. Climate change is what we are doing. I think those are two key points that targeted specifically to our young people. Existential, in that it not only can change the way in which we live, it has the potential to, let me not be so dramatic, but it could, if it changes in a dramatic way, it could change life as we know it.
Indeed, Prime Minister Andrew Holness. So in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking you the serious question. Yeah? Do Jamaicans take climate change seriously? Do we? To get those answers, these varying views, we turn to our Facebook page. Ricardo Porteous is saying we all are to take it seriously indeed. Anthony Shakes here saying, unfortunately, we don't, and that's so wrong. We should not be like Donald Trump. Okay. Wow. Marvin Reed says, not very seriously. It's the industrial first world countries who contribute the most to climate change due to their tremendous release of toxic waste and other pollutants, which ironically affects the small developing states such as Jamaica. Yeah. Beffa Baker is saying climate change is a real problem. Just look what it is taking place now. Philip Jackson is saying, while we must take care of this planet called Earth, where we all live, no one can damage God's creation before God do so himself. Things and time will keep changing, says the good book. Yeah. Audley Phillip is saying, I do not think that our people has been sensitized and educated enough about the effects of climate change for them to truly understand its impact. People hear about climate change but have little understanding what it is and what it means. And I can definitely also agree with Audley Phillips' comments here. I think that people don't understand the whole issue of climate change and how important it is, and some of the activities that we do on a daily basis, how it contributes to the issue of climate change that we're having at this point in time. I really don't think that people are being properly sensitized and educated enough about the effects of climate change and the impact thereof. Natalie Winter is saying, yes, climate change affects everyone. Wesley Cunningham is saying, no, 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 we keep destroying the environment more and more every day. Yeah? Hepburn Davis is saying to us that if you examine the history of the climate story, you can't help but notice that it keeps shifting like quicksand. The fact is that weather conditions do change over time, but climate remains largely the same. We still have 4 seasons and heavy snow in New York in December. This is how it's been for as long as we've been around. Climate change cannot mean we have some hot summer sometimes. Okay, Hepburn, trying to understand it, what it is you're saying. All right, Christopher Isaacs is saying very few. So I suspect you're saying that very few people take climate change seriously. That is what you're saying. Beverly Barrett says no. We Jamaicans don't take climate change seriously. Rosalind Buck is also saying no. Fabian Smith says no. Just look at how we dispose of our garbage. And don't get me started with the disposal of garbage. Oftentimes we're traversing the streets, whether it be on in vehicle, public vehicle, private vehicle, and you see all people just throw the things them out a door. Like, I don't know if you don't feel some sort of way when you look at the streets and look how clean it be, and then you yourself are gonna just take the bottle where you just don't drink out of and throw it through the window. You know, feel no type of way. You know, look into yourself and feel no type of way. And I can say that since week, I saw a man just don't drink out a boom buckle and throw it through the window. One taxi driver just throw it through the window on the street of Hope Road, and my mother was like, "Make we take the license plate." So I said, "Mommy, what we gonna take the license plate and do?" But we have some very bad habits. And sometimes we do some things that we think, you know, it's not going to affect anything. But it does. It does. And then you have some people who, whenever they dispose the garbage on the street, them say, oh, the sweepers, we have to give the sweepers something for do. Them something that, No. That's just terrible. All right. So back to the question, do Jamaicans take climate change seriously? Shins for Life is saying that the only thing Jamaican take serious are TikTok, social media, and mix up in other people's business. Shins is saying, when I moved to my new home in St. Andrew in 2007, I was afraid to shower even in the day while the sun was out. Now I can shower midnight and the water is warm. Climate change is real. Yeah. Let me see if I can go to our Instagram page. We're 876 eggs saying absolutely not. Leah is saying Jamaicans not even take crime seriously. And Willie Ryan Wilson is saying we do not for the most parts. However, we have Prime Minister who does, and I think that's a great place to start. All right. Yeah. Wow. Let me see if I can go to the comments on our YouTube. Christina is saying give sweepers something to do. Why we so with dark body now? Because if you're going to throw a bottle out the window or throw a wrapper or a paper or something out of the window, and then you're going to say give the sweepers something to do, with dark, man. With dark. David Nabar says they are low life. I don't know, man. At some point we need to just stop and say that we are the ones who are contributing to these things. We don't take climate change seriously. And I think it is something that really needs to be looked at. Because no matter how we hear the environmentalists come out and they warn and they talk about it, we don't necessarily take them serious. We Jamaicans, we don't take them serious. Yeah? Donovan Walker said we're dark and nasty. And there is a fine, you know, for disposing the garbage the way how some of we do, throw it out of the window and just, you know, there is a fine for that. I think there is. Jaja Lewis is saying, I don't think that a lot of Jamaicans understand the impact of climate change. We need to engage the public more and get them sensitized. And I do agree with you, Jaja Lewis. I totally agree with you. There needs to be some sort of public education campaign. And I know that people would say, oh, everything we call for public education campaign, but you don't know until you know. You have to know, you know. Bali is saying, correct, Roby, and our people are their own downfall. Like, it's so crazy. It is so crazy. Doreen Johnson is saying dark and fool. Yeah? But we have to stop and think about how it is that we, the people, contribute to the effects of climate change. Rick is saying, can someone tell me how throwing garbage on the road cause hurricane and how carbon cause earthquake? Well, Rick, that is something. That's some questions there, Rick. Dennis Barnaby saying, with dark bad, that was funny of you. Yeah, man, with dark, man. Ursuline Bowen is saying, men like those I wouldn't want at my yard if nasty outer road. He's nasty at home. Mildred is saying, what we put in the environment is returned to us in one form or the next. Experience is the greatest teacher. Yeah. It is. Marigold Weber says all the public education will not change their mindset, and it will not, but it will kind of give them perspective. Public education may very well give them some sort of perspective of some sort, you know. Dre View says Jamaicans need to take climate change seriously. Look at the beach erosion happening in Helsha Beach. I tell people say no Helsha not there again, you know, because when you go out there and you look and you see, you know, I not swimming at that. I not swimming that. Ozra is saying we should. Sun can be so hot and then rain just start to fall, which never used to happen. Ozra, I want to tell you that my daughter says when the sun and the rain, when it's raining and the sun is out, we all as Jamaicans know what them say about that one day, don't it? All right, let me see if I can get in some more. I'm getting the wrap-up signal, but I'm going to leave us with the one from Marigold Weber to say that all the public education will not change their mindset. I do think that it will give us Jamaicans some sort of perspective. Political analyst believes that ignorance is the order of the day. But I do believe that we can do better. Someone said that what you put into the environment is what we get in return. Thank you guys so much for participating in public opinion. You do have the option of agreeing and or disagreeing. It's your opinion. Up next, the business report. Stay tuned.
Public opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:31. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Netflix is starting to raise prices in some countries as growth spurred by its crackdown on password sharing starts to fade. The company told investors on Thursday that it was working to improve monetization by refining plans and pricing and had already increased prices in Japan and parts of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa over the last month. In Italy and Spain, the hikes will start this week. The update came as the streaming giant reported adding 5.1 million subscribers in over the 3 months that ended in September, which is the smallest number in more than a year. In the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 20 cents to buy $1, 207 Jamaican dollars and 37 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 117 Jamaican dollars and 17 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can't see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3 piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, not left foot. It's a big deal.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC, big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
It's the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Tune in to Cliffviews Online on Friday, October 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Women, this one is for you. The J&N Group is offering 100 women free mammograms as part of their annual Power of Pink breast cancer awareness campaign and in recognition of World Mammography Day. Don't wait and don't miss the opportunity. Visit the Jamaica Cancer Society at 16 Lady Musgrave Road for your free mammogram. But you can't wait and you can't stall because it is being offered on a first come, first served basis. Expect excitement, entertainment, and giveaways. So be quick and be there. That's a live broadcast of Cliffviews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on October 18. Tune in as we bring you the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast from the Jamaica Cancer Society, 16 Lady Musgrave Road. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by J&N Group.
I wonder if God is a woman.
On my mind this morning.
On my mind this morning.
On my mind this morning.
This year, Nationwide This Morning will be sharing the microphone and space with opinion leaders, newsmakers, and society's movers and shakers. Join us weekday mornings at 6:30 for What's on My Mind, where we'll feature several commentators focusing on issues affecting Jamaicans and our beloved country. We'll amplify what matters to you: politics, the economy, crime and security, gender, culture, entertainment, and everything in between. Tune in to Ricardo, Tana, and Saeed and our new commentators every weekday morning at 6:30 for What's on My Mind. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking them.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good
evening, listeners. Thank you for tuning in. This is The Nation's Business, and I'm Siobhan Campbell.
I'm Sondre Roden, and of course, we're still looking at the FinSAC Commission archives. And before our news, we had the Minister of Finance, and we heard from him there at Pegasus this morning, telling us the reasons for releasing these archives. But what do we have now, Siobhan?
Well, we're continuing our discussion into the long-awaited FinSAC Commission archives that were released this morning. We'll now be hearing some excerpts from some of the witness statements. Please note the Ministry of Finance says the archives were published with redactions and minor changes to protect the personal privacy of individuals in relation to their business affairs, names, addresses, and other identifiers, and to comply with the Data Protection Act, the Access to Information Act, and other relevant laws.
The ministry says otherwise the archive has remained substantially in the same state as received by the commissioners upon their resignations. Robian Williams has one of the witness statements.
Witness statement of debtor 2. My name is redacted, and redacted, I am a businessman. As of 1995, I had been a customer of Jamaica Citizens Bank, JCB, for about 3 years. I had been in the business of manufacturing handcrafts, mainly from Calabash, for about 10 years prior to 1995. Self-financed my business up to 1995. In 1995, I borrowed $500,000 from Jamaica Citizens Bank. The purposes of acquiring the loan were to pay duty on the importation of a 1988 Ford pickup truck to be used in my business, to assist with the construction of a workshop, and to increase an overdraft to fund receivables and operating expenses. The loan was dispersed in two parts: an overdraft facility in the amount of $270,000, and I want you to know that that is on you. His phone went off. So I'm going to do that one again, the sentence. The loan was dispersed in two parts: an overdraft facility in the amount of $270,000 and a demand loan in the amount of $230,000. The rate of interest was 50% on the overdraft facility and 45% on the demand loan. The loan agreement, debtor 2, was executed by myself and my two brothers, redacted. The loan was to be for a period of 5 years, which is 60 months, to be repaid by monthly installments of $9,689. My home at Irish Town in the parish of St. Andrew was used as security for the loan. I was also required to take out peril insurance on the house, which I did. During the first 2 years or so of this loan, I was able to make regular payments on the loan. These are not all the receipts. Some have been misplaced. I am also attaching a copy of the loan enquiry history, which I received from FinSAC. However, due to the unfavorable economic conditions during this time, the business which my brothers and I operated experienced severe downturn. As of about 1997, we were not able to make the monthly payments as regularly as we had been doing before. In about 1998, I received correspondence stating that FinSAC had taken over the management of Jamaica Citizens Bank. Now, in response to this letter, I went to the FinSAC office in the hope of negotiating a restructuring of the debt. I offered to settle the debt by paying 50% of the amount then owing. The proposal was rejected. A lady told me this by word of mouth. I believe her name was redacted. FinSAC did not communicate with me thereafter, and in about 1999, I was informed by a friend that FinSAC had advertised my house for sale in the newspaper. My brothers went into FinSAC and made a substantial payment. Our house was removed from the auction block. In February 2002, I received a letter from Dennis Jocelyn Jamaica Limited, informing that they had been appointed by Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation, JRF, to service the debt. I went into the JRF office and made a proposal to pay $500,000 in addition to the amounts I had already paid on account of the debt. I increased my offer somewhat by letter dated November 15, 2002. They rejected my proposals and offered a loan of $1 million on the security of our said home in Irish Town. This offer was made by word of mouth. They offered to write off the amount in excess of $1 million. At this time, I was informed that the debt was now approximately $1,200,000. They said I should pay $20,000 per month. I made 2 payments. After the first 2 payments, we could not maintain the arrangement because our business had failed. Now in April 2005, I put another proposal to JRF through Redacted, whom I had requested to intervene on our behalf. The proposal was in terms of a letter which I faxed to his office on April 20, 2005. He reported to me that his proposal to JRF on our behalf was rejected. I have been informed that our house has been on the auction block for some time. By letter dated September 2, 2010, JRF informed me that the debt is now in excess of $2.57 million and is accruing interest of $435 daily. By notice dated October 13, 2010, I was informed that that debt was $2.59 million. I am now faced with the prospect of homelessness. In the event that my home is sold, I would have nowhere to go. While I have never sought to escape responsibility for paying my debt when it occurred, I am of the view that my brothers and I have not been treated fairly and equitably in the aftermath of the takeover of JCB by FinSAC. When I went into FinSAC to negotiate, I did this in response to the government's announcement that there would be a window of opportunity for persons to receive favorable consideration with respect to their debts. FinSAC did not entertain my requests for accommodation, have since learned that other persons have benefited from substantial write-offs by FinSAC. Further, it is my understanding that JRF bought debts from FinSAC for cents in the dollar, yet my debt burden seems to have increased substantially and continues to increase as JRF continues to impose high interest rates. I am desperately seeking help to find any means, measures, policies, or help whatsoever whereby I and my brothers can be spared of the imminent possibility of homelessness and or imprisonment for the ever-increasing debt, which is now a debt owed to JRF.
So there you had it, listeners. That was Robin Williams reenacting one of the witness statements at the FinSAC Commission of Inquiry. It said started out alone a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
By the time FinSAC took it over, it was $1.2 million.
Yeah, and
by the time they sold it off, it was $2.5 million.
It's absolutely crazy because even the home that she heard was advertised, which you really have to wonder what happened there. But this. We've seen in a legal submission obtained from the archives, the lawyers representing FinSAC, they refuted the claims of impropriety on the part of the entity, insisting it acted above board and with full probity in disposal of assets and debt obtained.
We're up on a break, listeners, but once we come back, we'll be joined by Chartered Accountant Dennis Chung to go through some of these witness statements with us.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to HR@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, as we are just giving you, I would call it a drop in the bucket of many of the submissions made to the FinSAC Commission of Inquiry regarding the financial crisis of the 1990s. We have with us Chartered Accountant Dennis Chung, and just a few minutes ago we played to you one of the witness statements reenacted by Roby and Williams of a debtor to the FinSAC a debtor to a bank that was absorbed by FinSAC as a result of the insolvency concerns back there. Dennis, you heard that reenactment, and you were there during that period of time. What do you make of that submission from that individual?
I heard you earlier, Siobhan here, Jimmy say, boy, Dennis is one of 10 persons still left who was there. But no, let me tell you something. I remember it vividly. It was a really frightening period. In fact, before Century was the one that started, actually went down. I remember looking in a Jamaica Observer newspaper at the time, the BOJ, when they published the assets and liabilities. I actually looked at it, and I looked at Century, and I went to someone, someone I call Mike. So I said, Mike, something is wrong with Century. And he said, why? And I said, well, the receivables are very high. I said, it's not sustainable. A little did I know that a few weeks after, they would move in on Century. But what was happening was unsustainable because the FinSAC situation came about because of the sustained high interest rate environment that was being maintained by the government policy. And that is what started everything, because you hear someone say they borrow money at 50% and 45%, even at overdraft going up to 90%. No, that is totally unsustainable. And when that happens, it creates inflation, incomes get decimated, then economies weaken, businesses go down, and you just can't repay any debt like that, So it was a frightening period. I remember a lot of people who I remember, because I was in Kiwanis at the time too, and I remember some people who were doing pretty well with business, and a few months after, they were just on the face, lose their house and everything, So it was a wicked period. I don't think it was managed properly from a government point of view, because what I was always saying, if you are prepared to sell the debt for cents on the dollar to someone overseas to collect the debt, then why not sell it for cents on the dollar to the debtors? That was my point, because that would keep everything internal, give people some reprieve, right? And the government wouldn't have been losing anything because you were selling it anyway.
But on that point, Dennis, we read earlier, Siobhan read earlier what the Minister of Finance, Dr. Davies, would have said at the time. And when he looked at the two options, he decided that, the government of the day decided that was the best decision to take, to create an institution that would then wound up these other institutions.
Yeah, so they created FinSAC, and that's fine. But FinSAC then stole the debt to an overseas entity. Mm-hmm. So you're basically selling out your assets and your business people to someone overseas. What we should have done is, if FinSAC was saying, okay, we're willing to take 40 cents on the dollar, right? And I'm going to sell it to someone overseas. My point was, why not offer that 40 cents on the dollar to the persons who actually had the debt, instead of selling the 40 cents on the dollar overseas and then them coming to collect 100% from people locally? And of course, a lot of that profit would have been sent away, and then your business class was totally destroyed, right? So for a period after that, for many years after that, people were just afraid of going into business. Mm-hmm. I believe, however, that some people made some stupid decisions because, come on, first of all, if your house that you live in, your one house, I mean, it's very
Putting that up
difficult.
for collateral.
Yeah, and secondly, why are you going to be pulling off money at 50% to go buy a car?
Yeah.
Well,
you know what I mean?
well,
but,
then
but,
it's...
but the environment was very hostile.
Well, then it's well the FinSAC lawyers said pretty much that as much as these people don't want to take any personal responsibility, they should have been a little bit more sensible to the fact that many of these interest rates and loans they were taking on, they simply could not service.
Yeah, but then personally, I think that bankers owe a duty to persons to advise them properly also. Because remember, a lot of these people, we're coming from a situation where a lot of these business people were not people who were highly educated. They really didn't understand it. And I think that, the banking community did owe them a duty, to tell them it didn't happen. Banks also made some bad decisions because, NCB, for example, went into oranges. And the Eagle bought hotels, there were no capital controls, which is why the FIA came out around that time. But I think that certainly FinSAC, could have offered that cents on the dollars to the local people because it destroyed many lives, right? Even though they made that error in terms of judgment, right?
Yeah.
I also think, right, that what happened at FinSAC needs a forensic audit because you have to satisfy. I'm not saying anything went wrong, but unless you do that, you're going to have this cloud over the head of FinSAC. And I think it's best to just do a full, extensive audit on it and get it done. But at the time, financial institutions were just dropping because of the contagion effect. All over the place. We didn't have, as I said, capital controls. The FSC didn't exist. FSC, a lot of people, say what you want to say about FSC. I can tell you they have done a great job. Remember when we had the world recession in 2007 and banks all over were failing?
Yeah.
Nothing happened in Jamaica.
That
right?
sounds like you're leaning into the macroeconomic effect, which I want to just touch on a little bit, Dennis, because we looked at the debt, the public debt ballooning at that time, and that was because there was formal assumption by the Ministry of Finance at that time of the FinSAC bonds, which had been issued. And they said that was Dr. Davis said it was in order to heal the repackaged failed institutions prior to divesting them. What say you about that decision that was made?
Well, I think that the government did not have a choice. You cannot allow, you couldn't have allowed all those banks to fail. It would have been catastrophic for the country. I mean, I don't think we would recover for 2 or 3 lifetimes if that had happened. So there was no doubt that needed to happen. But what caused all of it was the high interest rate policy.
Yeah.
And even after that, the high interest rate thing still continued, right? It's just that we had capital controls at the time now, right, to deal with it. And as I said, FSC did a fantastic job. I have no doubt that people in some of those financial institutions did not use the money properly because, as I said, people are buying hotels and agricultural lands and going into farming. Banks don't belong in those things, right? But I think the high interest rate policy created a whole lot of damage for the country. I think also that it wasn't handled properly. I think that the cents on the dollar should have been offered to the entrepreneurs to keep it going. But that single move, I think, could have saved the entrepreneurial class if that was done, right? But what was done instead is that it was sold overseas at cents in the dollar. And I think even after all the errors that were made leading up to it, from the high interest rate policy, the bad decisions being made, and all of those things, I think that if we had done that, right, which is what I was saying at the time, I think that we could have somewhat saved some of the people, because people even committed suicide, It was a bad situation that was happening at the time.
And then it's on that matter of the high interest rates policy. I find it interesting. Dr. Davies, the finance minister at the time, that question was actually put to him by the commissioners, and he said, and I quote, "No directions were given by the Ministry of Finance to the central bank concerning interest rates." He also says no directions were given to the central bank, however, in terms of development of policies related to exchange rate, inflation, and financial stability. The governor and senior members of the BOJ were involved in ongoing discussions with me as Minister of Finance, the Financial Secretary, and the Director General of the Planning Institute concerning overall macroeconomic policy. Within that context, the macroeconomic program was developed for each fiscal year and for the medium term.
Yeah, well, look at it this way. Remember, it's just recently that the central bank was made independent.
All right.
Central bank and the Ministry of Finance was like one, right? No.
So this is a distinction without any actual merit.
Right, because they were one. And remember,
yeah.
If you have a situation where on the fiscal side, right, what government was doing, year after year. I don't know if you're old enough, Siobhan, but every year, it was for the last month of the fiscal year, everybody was on a weight loss program, because you wonder what taxes coming. You know tax coming, right? So what was happening is that there was a runaway expenditure, and government was continuously increasing the salaries of the public sector without increasing productivity. Because remember, labor productivity was falling. You're giving people more money to spend, which means that there's more money chasing fewer goods. Now, in a situation like that where government is saying, I want, and I want more money, right? Where's government going to get the money from? You get it from the central bank. You either, right, offer high interest rates to pull money in, right? Or you print money. Remember in the 70s, we had printed money. I remember what happened to us?
Yes.
When the economy went down by over 20% between 1972 and 1980. Right? So,
But Dennis, I want you to drill down in that a little bit more, because some of our listeners might need to understand the impact of printing money. When I was younger, I thought that, but if you never had money, you can go in government and print money. But there's a negative effect that I want you to just extrapolate a little bit more.
Yeah, so remember, there's a balance and the central bank. Remember the other day when we had the U.S. increase in interest rates and we increase interest rates. The reason why we do that is to create a balance between productivity and money that's out there, chasing the productive goods out there, right? So it's important to understand that relationship, right? Because if you have more money chasing the same amount of goods out there, right, or productivity falls and you still have the same amount of money, it means that there's going to be the same supply with more money out there, which means that people have more money to spend, they're demanding more.
Yeah.
Right? The way that the market deals with that is raise prices. That's what's called inflation. Right? Once inflation happens, incomes get decimated. Once incomes get decimated, spending stops. Once spending stops, the economy goes down. That's basically what happened in the 70s when you started printing money.
So you print money and just drive up inflation.
You just drive inflation, and inflation is the killer, which is why interest rates had to go up the other day. Because if the central bank the other day did not put up interest rates, then I can guarantee you would have had a significant problem that we're dealing with even now. But that is what happened during the 70s. So they printed money in the 70s. In the 90s, it was high interest rates.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some significant inflation numbers, It was ridiculous. I remember that at the time, in 1972, that the Jamaican dollar was stronger than the US dollar.
Yes.
Right? So in 1990, when Siaga was in power, it had gone up to $5.50 to 1. By the time we came around to the 90s, it went to $30. And by the end of the 90s, I think it went to like $80. That's to show the extent of the inflation, right? And the impact of the high interest rate policy, right? We really, as an economy, we're really having to recover because remember that what we were doing at the time also, you see the impacts of low productivity and the road condition that we're facing now. It is a direct result, as I always say, of the failure to invest in capital infrastructure in the 90s. I remember when the budgets were being done, they used to get the money to fund the budget from two sources, new taxes and cut back on capital expenditure. Right? What that has done, it has left our infrastructure in an unproductive state, which is why we can't grow beyond 1 to 2%. Right? We might do 3% occasionally, but we can't. Because at the time we were pursuing this high interest rate policy, that interest payments were 70% of the dollar. Interest payments.
Yes, I think Dr. Clark said that combined with just salaries was everything. That was the entirety of our revenue. Nothing could cover anything else.
We're constantly running fiscal deficits, which means that the only way that the BOJ could have addressed that is high interest rates. And that's what happened. It's the fiscal side that caused the problem because government policy was that, hey, we're just going to spend and spend and spend. And that's what happened. Now we're just going to give increase and give increase. In fact, if you look throughout the period of history, every time there's a problem with the economy, it's because they have given this significant increase without any productivity improvement. We still have the same problem, but to a lesser extent, right? Because we really haven't addressed public wage labor market reform, and we haven't addressed the matter of how we compensate people, right? But we still have the problem, but to a lesser extent, because we're able to control the fiscal now and reduce the debt to GDP ratio. So let me tell you, man, it was a dread time. I've lived through some dread times. A 1 out of 10 person.
And on that matter of it being a dread time, Dennis, because I have this another very interesting thing from the question and answers provided by Dr. Davies, and this is one relating to if any assistance was requested from multilaterals.
Any advice
was sought. And I'm just shocked here that Davies says, yes, advice was sought from the IMF, the World Bank, and the IDB. The discussions took place in both Kingston and Washington and dragged on for several months. The summary of the advice which was eventually received was that intervention would be costly and would impact for an extended period on the fiscal accounts. Against that background, the advice was to allow institutions to fail, their principals excluded from future participation in the financial sector, and the depositors paid out of the proceeds of the sale of the assets which existed. In order to effect this approach, there was the recommendation to close the whole financial system for a period of 2 weeks to implement all the required changes. And Dr. Davies said the last recommendation reflected a total lack of appreciation of the implications of such an action and was rejected as impractical.
I agree 100% with Dr. Davis on that. If you say my writings at the time, there are many things I didn't agree with him on, but I agreed 100% with him on that, right? If we had allowed institutions to fail, it would have been devastating. I'm not just talking about economic consequences. We would have had riots in Jamaica. So Dr. Davis was spot on. Let me tell you something. I remember in 2013 when Dr. Phillips started on this IMF program, and this is the IMF program that we did in 2013. It was the most successful we've had, and that changed everything. And recall, this IMF program was drafted by Jamaica. I remember I went to a meeting with some people from the IMF, and when I looked at the numbers, the targets that they had, I said to the person who was the head of the mission, I said, do you think we can achieve these numbers? I said, that's impractical. You know what the person looked at me and said in that meeting? He said to me, he thinks it's impractical also, but it's a target and we're going to go for it. So I said to him, I said, listen, you can't do that. I said, when you put this burden on Jamaican people and it creates problems in the country, I said, all you do is go overseas and watch it on CNN and phone enough. I said, I have to live it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to revise that, because that can't work. Right? So I said that to say, I agree with Dr. Davis. They can stay and give all the advice they want overseas.
Yeah. But once it's impractical,
Yeah.
it's impractical.
Yeah. You understand? But he was right. He had to intervene. He did not have a choice. If he did not do that, then I mean, the debt that we incurred would have looked like a joke.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I mean, I'm sure we'll get hearing a lot because, as I said, it's a lot to go through, a lot to unpack in terms of the archived data, and I'm sure this will not be the last discussion we have on this matter of the FinSAC Commission archives. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm just one of 10, so
So there's 9 more to go, eh?
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll take this break and more after this.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Choose your life insurance coverage, apply, and pay online. Live the e-life with Sagicor Life. The time by Sagicor Life is
7:09.
Need to send items locally? Now there's a better way. Zipmail, a safe, reliable, and affordable courier service island-wide. Delays are a thing of the past. Save time. Zipmail will send it in a flash. We offer door-to-door pickup and delivery by the next business day. You can track the progress of your item every step of the way. Choose Zipmail and let us deliver your next package or item now. Just zip it and forget it. A product of Jamaica Post.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
It's the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Tune in to Cliffviews Online on Friday, October 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast. Women, this one is for you. The J&N Group is offering 100 women free mammograms as part of their annual Power of Pink breast cancer awareness campaign and in recognition of World Mammography Day. Don't wait and don't miss the opportunity. Visit the Jamaica Cancer Society at 16 Lady Musgrave Road for your free mammogram. But you can't wait and you can't stall because it is being offered on a first come, first served basis. Expect excitement, entertainment, and giveaways. So be quick and be there. That's a live broadcast of Cliffviews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on October 18. Tune in as we bring you the J&N Group Power of Pink outside broadcast from the Jamaica Cancer Society, 16 Lady Musgrave Road. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by J&N Group.
I wonder if God is a woman.
All right, we're back with you. And of course, we have been talking about a lot this evening, Siobhan, but we're switching gears a little bit to talk about something that is not just a national issue, but an international issue. At the University of Technology, they're having International Climate Change Conference. So the Faculty of the Built Environment at the University of Technology Jamaica, UTEC, is hosting their International Climate Change Conference. The theme is Adaptation and Mitigation Strategies for Climate Departure, Managing the Crisis. The conference started on Thursday and will continue on Friday.
Over the 2 days, the conference is seeking to explore the innovations in the areas of renewable energy, sustainable technologies, ecosystem resilience, and conservation, urban resilience and infrastructure development, policy, social equity, justice, and poverty alleviation, among others. And joining us to discuss further is Professor of Energy Engineering for the School of Engineering at the University of Technology, Therese Chambers. Good evening.
Good evening, Prof.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on this evening.
It's good to hear from you, Professor. First, can you give us some background on the conference, please?
Okay, so this conference, as you can see what is happening to us now in Jamaica and in the world, the weather events that are occurring, we can see the effects that occurring on our climate, on our food, everything. So the University of Technology, in particular the built environment, who offers an MSc in sustainability and climate change, decided to host this conference. And at this conference, we have a number of governmental individuals, academics, students, everyone coming together to talk about climate change.
Alrighty, so based on just the general topic of climate change, we know that you have particular themes for this conference. Give us some idea of the themes that your speakers will be speaking on.
Okay, so we have 6 themes, and the first sub-theme is renewable energy, sustainable technologies, geospatial sciences, and artificial intelligence. All of that are quite topical right now. We also have sub-theme 2, which is ecosystem resilience and conservation. And those 2 were the sub-themes that were aired today at the conference. Tomorrow we are looking at urban resilience and infrastructure development. We are looking at policy, social equity, justice, and poverty alleviation. We're looking at climate education and capacity building in geospatial sciences. We're looking at climate cooperation, legal and finance, because to everything there's always a legal and financial implication. And then we'll also look at policy, social equity, justice, and poverty alleviation, I guess. Yes, those are our sub-themes.
And on those themes, do we have a list of speakers and presenters to guide us through those topics?
Certainly. So tomorrow, I don't know if you're interested in what happened today, but tomorrow we have the opening address being done by the Honorable Matthew Samuda, and we'll have presentations from Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns, who is the opposition spokesperson on environment and ecological heritage. And we'll also have a presentation from Jennifer Baldwin, the director in the Office of Environment and Health at the USAID Jamaica.
Interesting. So tell us about today, since I never got to attend, but I kind of want to find out, what happened today.
You missed a very good day, an excellent day. Our keynote speaker today was the Honorable Andrew Holness, our Prime Minister, and he spoke to us on on the fact that climate change is happening now, and he spoke to us on the issues of climate justice and managing climate change, and ended with giving us a charge, giving the universities, because all UTEG and other universities present, we were given the charge to ensure that the public understands the issues surrounding climate change. That it's not just a phrase that is thrown out there, but they understand, because people don't believe in it. Some people don't believe in it. So he is charging us to get that understanding out there. Yes?
Oh, go ahead, Professor.
We also had the plenary speakers. We also had Professor Tanisha Stevenson from UE, Mr. Leonard Francis, the CEO of NEPA, Ambassador Olivier Ganvorch of the French Ambassador Olivier Ganvorch, and Dr. Ruth Pratap Singh, who was the head of the Caribbean School of CSEII, the Caribbean Sustainable Energy and Innovation Institute at UTEC. They all spoke on the topic of climate change.
And on that very topic, Professor, I mean, a lot of Jamaicans don't really take this matter of climate change seriously. Can you just drill down to the importance of having these discussions?
All right. So years ago, I don't know, I won't guess your age, but years ago, I am quite sure that this temperature that you feel in the days is not what you used to feel.
Most definitely.
I remember when I was growing up, Mandeville was cold. In the middle of the day, it was cold. That doesn't exist
That I
anymore.
remember, Siobhan.
Kingston was always hot, but certainly not these temperatures. And when you think of Portmore and how they're suffering as well, someone from Portmore spoke to me today about it and about the temperatures that they feel over there. It certainly is not what it was, say, 25 years ago, which is not a particularly long time ago.
Right.
And what is the cause of that? Part of it is because we like comfort. And when I say comfort, it's not just in our homes, but in being able to eat whatever we want to eat whenever we want to eat it, being able to go where we want to go whenever we want to go. We like driving in nice, fancy cars, so we need roads and all of that. So we have development happening, infrastructure development. And what do we do? How do we achieve that? We have to use energy to do that. And while we are doing that, we're modifying our environment. I'm not going to say destroying, but we're changing our environment. We're using a lot of energy that has to be generated. All of this changes our climate.
Right.
It does affect our climate. So the change in some cases is it was gradual. Now it's speeding up just a little bit. In June, we had a Beryl. We have not seen a hurricane of that size, of that category, in Jamaica happening before, in June. Typically, we expect that in the hotter months, later on in August, September.
And
So
Professor,
there you go.
so just to ask Professor, the conference is open to the public, correct?
The conference is open, but there is a charge. There is a charge to it. Let me see. I think it is $60 per day, and but there's a reduced cost for university students as well.
What's that reduced cost, Prof?
Let's see. I don't know it offhand, but I think it is about $20.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd say, Prof, you'd say that Jamaica has made strides with our plastic ban, among other moves, by the institutions that be to ensure that we're on the train of climate action.
Yes, we are. We should be. We should take heart in Jamaica. Some of what we are doing, it's reaching people, because Jamaicans are a lot more aware of their use of plastic, and are quite proud of it too.
Right.
Even with straws, are quite proud of the ban on plastic bans
Straws,
and
yeah.
straws.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And we're looking forward to more changes as well.
all right. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof. And that's Professor Threese Chambers, Professor of Energy Engineering in the School of Engineering at the University of Technology, telling us about the International Climate Change Conference at the University of Technology. And of course, she'd have told us about the speakers. The cost for that is $60. We're going to go for a quick break, and we'll be right back with you.
And before we go to that break, listeners, your calls are up next. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come chat with us.
So where you get?
The new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share here. Get the new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
When Sagicor Bank thinks of a woman, here's what we see. We see business leaders managing sole trader businesses to large corporations. We see university graduates as our women uplift themselves academically. We see more home owners, ambitious women working hard to build their own legacy. We see leadership at home, with women proudly providing for and taking care of their families. We see entrepreneurs, Jamaican women playing a leading role in our economic growth. At Sagicor Bank, we see the invaluable contribution of women in the home, communities, businesses, and development of our country. That's why we're in their corner, supporting Jamaica's women as they strive to achieve their dreams.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers. As I said, we're taking your calls. The numbers 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Mr. T, you're on the line.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
I'm really not so sure why the finance minister decided to rehash this thing here, because this thing should have been exposed years ago. And I don't see why we're going through it now. It is only going to remind people of the suffering that they went under. The people borrow money at 20-30%, which was high, but tolerably you could work with it. And people lose their business that they develop and build 20-30 years, and in a couple of years disappear. The fact that the wicked Minister of Finance at the time, Dr. Davis, sold the loan for cents in the dollar, and we found out that it was 12 cents in the dollar. And people offered them up to 50, 60 cents in the dollar, and they turned it down. Why? It was wicked. People are still feeling pain. People are still hurting. Yeah?
But the argument from the Minister of Finance, Dr. Clark, was saying that the knowledge or the information from that period needs to be shared so that we don't have a repeat of that. Would you agree with that?
Well, I believe that a lot of the people in the PNP are still there today, enjoying and calling out for the things that they can do. And, it is sickening to know that they are still there, knocking dead, you know, and behaving as if everything is okay. You know, people are still hurting, and not any easy way either. Okay?
I hear you, Mr. T. But I mean, as I said to the finance minister earlier, I was what? At the time of FinSAC, I would have been six at most. It's an arbitrary period of time for a lot of people my age, you know, as in, it's just a word that really doesn't have any meaning. They don't understand the bearing of what that period of time has on their daily lives today. So I see the importance of it being brought to some level of finality, though I still lament the fact that we don't have an actual fully fleshed out report that gives us some level of conclusions, some recommendations, because the finance minister, the government, the cabinet at the time feels that they did the right thing. They don't feel they bear any specific responsibility for the high interest rate regimes or the financial failures of the time. And the FinSAC entity itself claims that our hands are clean, we just did what we were told to do. So who is telling the truth? Is it the debtors' fault that they just took on these loans and it demolished them? Who is at fault? What were the mistakes that needed to be addressed? All of these things should have been in a report that we could have gone through and at least had some level of understanding in a digestible format. We'll see if something like that comes down the line from some scholarly piece of work, but I can understand why it needed to be brought out. It couldn't just be something buried in some archive somewhere where nobody knew what it was. Who's on the line again? Richie, good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, Marshaban.
Evening, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Sanjay.
All going.
Me there, man. You couldn't find me find it though.
I can't, but I did, Richie. I can't, but I did. No, what's on your mind this evening, Richie?
Brethren, I want to tell you, I am one of the persons who have been lobbying for the things of the Republic. I've lived it, and I know it, and it's still within my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I know a man in Wolava. He was, this man go him up and give him a little wholesale in Wolava town. He was in his 20s. I remember I started with a little Ford van. He used to drive his goods. He moved from there and then buying trailer and trailer head, driving goods for the place. Moved from there and buy a property.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much land, but it built four farms on it. And moved from there and buy a piece of land and start build a plaza. He said he run broke and bought $300,000 it cost in lost his plaza. The man is lucky to be alive, but he has a transplant heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the what I can get. I said, I hold up about 3 months ago, and he barely can walk into his van. I come over one day, I called him, and his wife was the person who answered. And so when I told him who I am, she was glad because he's in the hospital, and I believe they called him that he's gone.
Wow.
I live it, and I'm still feeling because my heart is beating for that man now.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone I always close to. Is one thing I keep telling him, look, you see if you have achieved the amount of money you plan to achieve, that plan was to achieve, you wouldn't be heating anything more. You know what statement that is still alive? His children is America, so he can go to America every now and then and get treatment. My heart is still bleeding for him as one which I know. You see these things that we're talking about, it is not only the destruction of this country. Before then, PJ and Dr. Omar Davis proper tax run with it. They implement a policy it's cheaper to import more than to produce. And lock down the country like sardine pan. I can't forget that it was rough. You see all the poor little people them, where are the barbers and them people there? They was paying us $60,000 a year for tax.
Mm-hmm.
They tax baby pampers. They tax cigarettes. There's nothing left to tax. You talk about public sector workers. They were on 5 years wage freeze. You see? I mean, those periods was rough. It's something that I will never forget, and I will not forgive them for what they did. I know why I'm glad that it happened. The younger generation did not know nothing, and some of them still know but the FinSAC report will enlighten them and let them know. Because right now, the dollar went up to 81 when Mr. Gordon became Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. And the country was so much and flat out that he had to borrow the same amount of money that the country who took by the country and put in. I will be here the PMP party now come and talk about this and that and bad road and hospital and whatever. The hospital in St. Thomas, Princess Margaret Hospital, it was closed, People had to come into Kingston, the KPH, and the university to get treatment. You hear me? So I'm glad it is published, but I think there's a lot for people to know. So many people died. I can't remember the last couple I heard died because of FinSAC report. It was two elderly couple in Mandeville. The husband sent the wife to jump on a cliff, and she jumped and him jump after. That's how she is. A bank man in Spanish Town Hospital, in Spanish Town Bank, shot himself in the back one day in mega day because of this FinSAC. So it is still in my heart. And I will never forget PJ and Omar Davis. No matter what they say, I will never forgive them for it.
But Richie, I ask you this, and this is just me asking a question because I have had the benefit of reading some of the submissions, and I wonder, because I had heard this when I interviewed Dr. Phillips a while back, that they moved in response to protect the depositors. I understand the debtors were hit, but they say that if they had not done that, the people who had their pensions, their life savings, their insurances tied up in these banks would have suffered had they not incorporated FinSAC. What do you make of that argument from Mr. Davies and the cabinet of the day?
Benjamin, I'm not going to get too deep into it because all I know that FinSAC was wrong. I mean, what went wrong in the country caused FinSAC tables. That's where the problem starts. I'm afraid, he lost his money into a bank as well, He lost his money into a bank, and it reached to a stage where his grandmother had was lending $20,000. This man owned both for years, and he was very, very careful. But luckily, after that time, the bank gave him a whole bus, and then keep fighting with him until he's up again. You see? So, brethren, I'm not going to tell about FinSAC. What I'm going to say, the problem that caused FinSAC to be there, to take over the debtors, that's where the problem starts. So, is the cause of it? They are at fault.
All right, Richie.
Okay.
All right, blessing, Richie.
Amalo, evening.
Evening, Amalo.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Sanjay. Good evening, Sharon.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You?
Quite well.
So, what's on your mind this evening, Amalo?
That Jamaican will never get a report that gives them the real reason why FinSAC, what causes the meltdown. Not FinSAC. FinSAC was the cleanup. What caused the meltdown? But the meltdown was really caused by politicians that are hungry for power and corporate elites that really have self-interest. Yeah? All of this started and came from the repeal of the open account that allow these people to move their money freely across borders. And this put a pressure on the US dollar that we never had on our reserve. The pressure that came on the reserve shoot up interest rate and everything because the Bank of Jamaica trying to give people an interest to keep their money here. That's where it starts from. All the rest of things that happen after, yes? All the rest of things, it's an after effect of that. When the open account, because Michael Manley was just put it back in power based on giving the elites in Jamaica the open account, just to repeal it. They never wanted Edward Seago back there.
Well,
They
I
couldn't control
see an
him.
interesting question here from Cheeseman on YouTube. But Omal, we cannot run a closed economy.
It's not a closed
And that
economy.
eventually that regime
Edward
had to
Seago
end.
Edward Seago was doing what you call it, an action because of what the foreign reserve was at the time. So you could just open up. You had to create cushion to build the foreign reserve. And then when you could withstand the pressure of people coming towards you for US dollars, for movement and stuff like that, you could deal with it just like how they are dealing with it now, putting 200 million per week on these things to control the exchange rate.
Yeah, but
at that time, we
the
couldn't.
argument, Omalo, is that it's the high interest rates that
The high interest rate
cause
came
the problem.
after.
You're saying it, so you're saying there's a domino effect? Is that what you're saying?
It is a domino effect when you put pressure on the US and going on the US dollar. Yeah, then you're going to have that high interest rate that they're trying to control inflation. And because all of this now, when you send up the US dollar, the price of goods and all of these things going up. It was the Open Account Act that was repealed in 1993 and then trickled down to 1996. And from there, 1993, go listen back to Michael Manley. Go listen back to Michael Manley sitting in the garden talking about these things.
All right, Omala, I hear you. Thank you for the call. Yeah,
So we will
you give me a lot too.
We will never get the proper reports in Jamaica. We have to get scholars from outside to come and report because this. Hello?
I hear you, Omala.
Yes, what they call this in economics is the shock doctrine. The shock doctrine took place where you reform the whole economic system and make the economic system the train, the engine that drives everything, and everybody depend on it. And that is how we have this system, that the economic system runs Jamaica and it runs it through everybody in debt.
I hear you, Omalo.
For them to survive.
Thank you for the call. I actually thank you for the call, Omalo, because you give me a lot to look into there. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bookman, good evening.
Bookman.
Evening. Not on the FinSAC thing this evening.
All right.
I have a burning issue with the road here from Mandela Highway into Portmore. I think them call it the I-95, you know. You can lead it right back to 100-man station and where the municipality is.
Yeah, I know where you're talking about.
You have some hole on the road, brother. Mainly on the side when you're coming back from Portmore. Every night I coming from Portmore, I see 2-3 cars, them tire burst, you know, and the man them punch, you know. And this is not a lie, you know. A lot of people can tell you. And they can whole pothole them better for fix. Man, them just can throw some small on the road, them better. Every night you have to drive on the road and have the same thing. Exiting now, coming back from Portmore, and you reach out to exit on Mandela. If you're in the right lane, a big hole in that road, you know, and the man must swing over for you or to lick your car, you know, brother.
No, but the caller, you know, the reason why those big holes exist because what them do it, them just throw a little marl into it. It can't work.
The man them need to fix the road.
Yes, it needs proper rehabilitation. That's what it needs.
Please, ask him from Marvin if he can get somebody. Pay some attention. The man in my NWA, brother, we don't know what the brother is easy and what am I doing now.
You know, Bookman, a couple, I think about last week we had Minister Morgan on Nationwide this morning, and he had committed that a lot of the roads in particular are slated to be fixed, but the heavy rains would have stopped the procession of fixing.
Before the heavy rain, the man need to throw something at the road like right now, brother. People bug them tired every night on the road.
No, but I know what you're feeling, you know, Bookman. I've driven that route before, and I've had to dodge the holes myself.
That's not the solution, Bookman. You don't want them just throw something in the hole and leave it. No.
They have to fix it properly, man.
Coming out, you know, brother. No cap fly off because one of the patrol I'm in find the back, you know. When we got a bird, man, my things are 12,000, man, I one of the upcap, you know, to match back the thing, you know. But I'm buy rims and rims them soft and what am I know to do?
We hear you. But brother, I'm sure the minister hears your pleas, and I am sure they will go to fix it.
I just away from the municipality, brother. The man, some hole on the road. When they them patch two of them and more dead. And the see big old municipality there. We put up big signs. So when election won, them thank Portmore people. Them saying, they win back the municipality. Thank you, Portmore, Ranway. And some hole out there right now, brother. You know what?
It's not a laughing matter because I've seen him in a Chevron. But
I just know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that one though.
Send a team over here come look tomorrow, brother. I mean, I listen out if you not make somebody at work live at Portmore drive that road tell you no. It is a disgrace.
Well, we have quite a few members of staff who live at Portmore. Let me ask them. I will ask them.
I've been there recently, Chevron, so I can attest. But what I will say is that I hope those who have the power to do what is to be done are listening. Hope Minister Morgan hears this plea from Bookman.
All right, thank you. I think we're losing in the Bookman.
I don't know if anybody from government see them whole there, anybody from the municipality or what have you. See them whole in or the MP or Holmes or Jackson or for the next one, Terry Lang or the Wolf or constituency. I don't know if them see it. I'm glad I don't see it.
All right, but I'm sure what you have said has been heard, and we hope that you'll get the. If them don't fix it by the time you can call me back. All right, give them a week or so, and you can call me back.
2 weeks too long, man.
All right, thanks,
all right,
Bookman. Billboard, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing quite well.
You know, it's funny. I'm sitting here and I'm listening. The FinSAC report, you see?
Yes. Well, there's no actual report, but
you will never ever
the archives.
You will never ever get the truth unless you have a truth and reconciliation of all that went on. Because in as much as some of the people that I listen to, who I have a lot of respect for, they will not tell you that the FinSAC report or whatever it is, the meltdown,
the archives,
was a political one. You know, so I stress the political.
There has to be a political component. I don't think people can really avoid that.
Okay, will you give me a minute? I don't think I have enough time to tell you. You used to have men going around with briefcase of money buying US dollars even on the beach.
I heard that, ironically, I believe I heard that in, I think it was Michael Manley's.
Yeah, just let me know, please. The government was always in problem with finance. Central National Bank got the hit, and from Central National got the hit, it becomes that domino effect. You know why Central National got the hit? They were getting the most money coming from abroad to their banks because they were offering more interest than the rest. They outbid the Bank of Jamaica for some money that the U.S. Embassy was exchanging. And it hit the government to the teeth. And they figured they were, in other words, being embarrassed. And then the FinSAC debacle starts. When I hear Dennis Strong talking, Mackie and I criticizing him, saying that the bank went into buying oranges and went into farming. They went into it because the people, they must stop. Because of the domino effect, people stopped going in to borrow money because the interest rate was going up. The bank have your money, and they have to find ways and means to give you back your interest. So the best thing most to do was to reinvest your money. It's not because the bank wanted it. You get me?
I hear you.
It's
I follow.
Because they wanted to generate income to pay you back. And from, just bear with me, I went into a meeting with a senior politician a couple of years ago. And he looked across the table to a man and he said to the man, "Are you aware that the mouth is more dangerous than an M16 bullet? Because when a bullet stops, the mouth just keeps continuing. When the mouth starts spreading the news that the government got a century. I think the next bank got, it was JCB. And it just went on like that. People stopped carrying their money to the bank. the system start drop financially. That's where the muck starts. And sometimes somebody inviting the Crawford, if he's still alive, and people have those era to come and give a full version of what went on. And I remember it vividly, very clearly.
Let me tell you, caller, I have spoken to quite a few of the people from that era. Oh, I said I spoke to quite a few people of that era, and it feels like it's a thorny subject that nobody really wants to touch in any great detail from the political directorate of that era. I've tried. I even sat down with Dr. Peter Phillips to talk about it. He gave me a little something on it, but it seems like it was not something anybody really wants to discuss in depth.
They are just giving you the crust. They're not giving you the root. You get me?
I hear you.
Somebody come up with the root as to what caused this financial. Why I'm so emotional about it? I might feel emotional. I borrowed 500,000. And I must be honest with you. At 48 years young, that has never been to a college. I, at the time, owned 3 houses.
Yeah.
Buses. Car, trucks. Because I used to go into the bank, borrow my money, pay them back their money.
Right.
Eh? When my system started getting bad, that means that I owed NCB 500,000. It was down to about $330,000 at the time. I was paying $18,000 a month. In other words, the loan was for $18,000 a month, and I was paying $20,000.
Right.
So I was paying even more than what was required. And then the payment goes up because of the interest rate. What hurts me most because I had a current account. And when I couldn't pay that additional $5,000, it started go to my current account as overdraft. You get me?
Yeah.
And that is what hurts me. If I tell you what I ended up owing at one time, you'd believe me. You want to hear it?
Tell us.
$14 million from $330,000.
Wow.
And as Dennis said, if they had just sold us, we'll loan back. When my loan reached $900,000, coming from $330,000, I sell bus, I sell truck, I sell almost any and everything that I could put my hands on. And I reached up to $700,000. That time my vehicle was just $100,000. I reached $700,000. Still short of $200,000. I now went into them and begged them right after $200,000. No, sir.
But tell me something, caller. What about what the FinSAC lawyers are suggesting, that maybe you still should bear some personal responsibility? You took loans that at the end of the day you couldn't service. What do you make of that? I'm not trying to accuse you of anything. I don't know what your financial situation was at the time, but that is their argument.
You're not listening to me now. I said I took a loan that I was able to service.
Right.
And then it just kind of ballooned out of your ability to control.
Is when the Central National Bank situation started turning the country all upside down. The interest started go up on me. It's not that I couldn't service my loan.
Yeah.
I was ahead of what was supposed to pay.
Right, because they said they were paying $20,000 instead of the 18.
20 when I should have been paying 18 on both things.
So,
and I've paid for me to have owned so much things at that time. I mean, I was a good borrower and a good player. But the muck starts where nobody no want to touch. You can't tell me as a Minister of Finance go up with my branch. And in 6 months' time, he said when he was on it that this is the kind of business that he would have been happy to be in. Was bigging up my business. And in 6 months' time, he turned against me. And sadly cut on my business. And as I said, from one bank start get hit, the more goes out. So everybody start holding on their money and now carry by the bank again. That's what it is, system.
I hear you, caller.
You get me?
I get
and
you.
it's time somebody comes out and get to the root of what caused the problem. Because really, I felt it.
Well, the minister said that
and
day.
And
And
The call of the minister said that they have earmarked, I think, $10 million to University of West Indies and 10 to the University of Technology. Yeah,
and I hear you good, but I felt it and I'm still living with it.
Yes, I'm saying that the finance minister indicated that he allocated $10 million each to both the UTech and UWI so that researchers can come in and try and get to the bottom of it, because what we have now is archives.
That is when the system can't mash up. The man should never have done what he did to Central National Bank. That is a fact. And then at one time, there might people going around with briefcases start buying the US dollars out on the road. Is that much of the system?
I keep hearing that, and I think I read it in somebody's biography, and I said, how does that even make sense? In a financial system, how does that even make sense? I keep hearing about this walking around with briefcase buying US dollars, and I said, how does that even make sense in a financial system?
It is a fact. The car back was by the bank for the US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You have to bid for. I used to go when I used to travel.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get more than $50. $50, you know. And I had to go and beg to get $50 to go abroad.
Mm.
Because the foreign exchange was tight now. $50, you couldn't get more than $50 to travel.
So who was buying back these US dollars?
That's what I said. We need some investigation. Remember, you have companies, you know. You have companies that didn't worth $1 in the 90s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in that different, they become $1 million companies, you know.
Mm.
So where the money went? It need a total pick up and turnover. And
I agree with Dennis. Now, what was required was a forensic audit of the whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if one can be done now to give us any greater insights into it, but something to that effect is needed.
And it need the people, the Dan Crawfords, if they are still alive, Paul Chen Young, and people of those heroes to come spill them guts. It's like how people want to hear the Grenada and what happened in Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
Truth and reconciliation, that's what it wants for the financial system here. Okay, sir?
All right. Thank you, caller.
I'll leave you with that.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Same for you.
Carl, good evening. Looks like you get the last word for the day. How are you doing?
Evening. I don't know if you didn't remember on Sunday evening, Omar Davis go from Meadowbrook School and talk a piece of garbage up there that he have to run with it. And that's why sometimes
that infamous comment, yes.
Sometimes when I hear me talk, when we hear somebody say, we feel big up Peter Phillip to help this to bring back the IMF back on track. Me can't do that because I was a part of that government. So I cannot. Anyhow, that's not my topic tonight. My topic is Pantan from Tuesday night, where we never have enough calling. Pantan. Pantan said him doesn't answer to the parliament. And the only reason why he came to the parliament is because of Ed Bartlett. We have little respect. Want to ask tonight, who pay Pantan? The taxpayer of Jamaica.
Yes, yeah.
Indeed.
The taxpayer of Jamaica.
Yes.
Pay Pantan. I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to move to Mr. Delroy Chuck. I'm disappointed in Mr. Delroy Chuck. And nobody enough go ask what color shirt me wear. Everybody know that by now. I'm disappointed in Delroy Chuck. Delroy Chuck sit inside the parliament Tuesday and make Pantan disrespect 63 of them that voted to go to the parliament. Pantan only get a job through the parliament.
Do you mean Delroy Chuck or Edmund Bartlett? Because
No,
Edmund
Delroy
Bartlett
Chuck.
is the chairman.
No, Chuck was there,
Delroy Chuck.
in the committee.
Delroy Chuck.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
I'm
he's there in the
about
committee, yes. But I don't know if it
Delroy
would be
Chuck.
his job
When Pantan was very rude, Delroy Chuck laughed on the taxpayer money. He should have stopped Pantan and asked Pantan to apologize immediately inside the parliament. He can make Julian laugh. Julian is a part of Pantan. They are all PMP together. So I have no problem with Julian laugh. have no problem with that. But I am disappointed in Delroy Chuck. Delroy Chuck should have rise inside the parliament and stop Pantan, ask Pantan to apologize. He want to come to the country in quarter, that is not the next thing I want to move to. What happened to Pantan inside the parliament? Pantan buck up on a brilliant boy
You're
named
talking
Pernell
Charles, right?
Pernell Charles Jr. And Pantan could not stand up to Charles. And what Pantan did to take away, to get a headline the next morning, he went like KD Knight, and Bruce Colin stand up to KD Knight. And KD Knight could not manage Bruce Colin and tried to embarrass him. And that's the same thing Pantan come back to the parliament and did. He couldn't stand up to Pernell. Pernell have him. And Pernell continue to ask him the question on the line. And the next question that Pernell, I respect Pernell for that, is when Pernell asks him the question twice about the farmer advisor to Peter Phillip. And he running the whole question. And Pernell went back straight back there. That's how you ask question.
But at the end of the day, Pantan did not answer that question.
Yeah. But that to show you how weak Pantan was.
But he stayed away from that question.
That just show up Pantan. The Pantan, that Pernell have him and could not answer to Pernell. And Pernell did well, not because he's my member of parliament.
You have a bias there, man, Carl.
Well, I know. Let me tell you something. I interviewed Pernell one Saturday night by Russell Barr.
Carl, sorry, but I know you're about to wax lyrical, but it's 7:59.
We're up
wrap
on
up.
time.
Sorry.
Have a blessed night.
Another time, Carl.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening, Carl. So, listeners, that's where we're going to leave it. It's 7:59. We thank you for all your calls. We got quite a few this evening. Quite a few done.
Yeah.
And to the viewers and those on YouTube, thank you so much. It was quite a lively discussion over there in terms of the FinSAC, its causes. I see people on both sides arguing back and forth as to who's to blame. And these are the type of things I like to see over on the YouTube chat.
It's lively in YouTube. Exactly. They're always lively, you know.
Thanks to Dana Davey, our super producer. Damien, thank you for being our tech up this evening. And my what is it? Cara Paul, how to describe her now? My mentor, my editor, and the boss and the whip. Thank you so much for leading the very capable news and production department. Have a good evening. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
I'm Sondre Roden.
It's the JN Group Power of Pink Outside broadcast. Tune in to Cliffviews Online on Friday, October 18 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the JN Group Power of Pink Outside broadcast. Women, this one is for you. The JN Group is offering 100 women free mammograms as part of their annual Power of Pink breast cancer awareness campaign and in recognition of World Mammography Day. Don't wait and don't miss the opportunity. Visit the Jamaica Cancer Society at 16 Lady Musgrave Road for your free mammogram. But you can't wait and you can't stall because it is being offered on a first-come, first-served basis. Expect excitement, entertainment, and giveaways. So be quick and be there. That's a live broadcast of Cliffviews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on October 18. Tune in as we bring you the JN Group Power of Pink Outside broadcast from the Jamaica Cancer Society, 16 Lady Musgrave Road. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by JN Group.
I wonder if God is a woman.
This is a rebroadcast of Jamaican Dads.
Train a child in the way he should go, and make sure you go the same way. The words of a Senegalese proverb that bring us into this episode of the Jamaican Dads Podcast. I'm Dennis Brooks.
And I'm Floyd Green.
And we are Jamaican Dads. Greetings, brother.
Yeah, man, boy.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And it's great that we're back.
Yeah.
Back and live, boy. So many people reach out and say, boy, listen, we love the show. We love the program. We want back some live program, you know. We want back some new episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what I love? Like when people see me, and they're like, or they hear your voice and they're like, I know you. And you're like, yeah, you say from so-and-so. And they're like, no. And they're like, oh, from so-and-so. And they're like, no, from Jamaican Dads.
Yeah, man, that's true. No.
They're like,
it's true.
Oh, yeah. And then invariably she says, how is Floyd?
I know, but you know what is cool? Like somebody will say, be here last night. I say, hear me last night. News? No, man, hear me. Listen to you last night. Listen to me. Yeah, man, by radio.
Yeah, man. I love it.
Yeah, so big